So Formula One testing is over. The 6 days of testing done with instead of 8 at Barcelona. A lot of things to talk about here. I guess the biggest would be Ferrari being slow on the straights and Mercedes' new dual axis system, which is just another way that they are going to be able to win, as well as the Pink Panthers Sport Payback Racing copy of Mercedes. We'll have to see about that. Those are the 3 things I want to talk about here today, as well as what I think the power rankings are for the 10 teams, as well as just some other things that we saw in testing, some lap times and stuff. So I guess the first thing I want to talk about is the Ferrari slowing down on the straights. So they were very quick last year on the straightaways, but this year it's been quite different. Ferrari a lot slower on the straights. Now, I don't know why that is. Obviously they changed some things with aerodynamics, but the thing that kept Ferrari battling last year were the straight line speed, was the straight line speed. They didn't have the best aerodynamics, they didn't have the best chassis. It was really the straight line speed. We saw that in a couple of races, like in Spa and Italy. Charles Leclerc getting his first 2 victories back to back. Those are straight up, straights, especially in Monza. And that's where we saw Ferrari really do something good. But in testing, they have slowed it down a lot. Obviously, testing doesn't tell us much. A lot of teams are sandbagging like Mercedes did last year. Maybe Ferrari are sandbagging this year. They're really the best team. Who really knows? All I could say is, though, from what we've seen through testing, Ferrari is a lot slower, which is not good, and we'll see that reflect in my power rankings. So the next thing I want to talk about here is the dual axis system that Mercedes have. So Mercedes are the fastest car in testing this year. They have won the championship for as long as I can remember. They've won it the last few years, especially with Lewis Hamilton winning yet again last year. A lot easier last year than it was the year before. Ferrari had their chance the year before, but last year they won pretty easily. But this year they have the new dual axis system, which helps them go faster on the straights, and it helps them go quicker in the corners. So basically what they can do, they pull out their steering wheel as they turn, before they turn, or they can push it in. All it does is it affects the toe to the point where they can have more contact with the road on the tire at certain parts. It's an adapting system. It's quick. It's going to work. Lewis Hamilton said he doesn't use it too much, but when it comes down to the race, over the course of a race, dual axis could help make up 3 seconds or something. 3 seconds doesn't seem like a lot, but if it comes down to, say, like 5 different races where Lewis Hamilton or Valtteri Bottas is within 3 seconds of first place, there's a big point difference between 25 and 18. There you go. So I think the dual axis system is really going to help. It's not illegal. It is going to be legal for next year, though. But Mercedes, they like to innovate. They did it again. They have the new dual axis system. It's an innovation that only Mercedes could think of, really. And there's no reason Mercedes aren't going to win this year unless Red Bull can do something crazy with Max Verstappen and Alex Albon. But I just don't see that. Mercedes seem like the easy favorites for me, especially with this dual axis system. It's the last year before the regulation change. Mercedes are going to try to dominate this era and pick up another win. I think they will do it. And I said this dual axis system is just another thing to help it. Speaking of Mercedes, let's talk about the next thing. That is going to be that the Racing Point looks just like the W10 last year. So basically what they did, they went to a computer, they scanned the entire Mercedes from last year, and they built that car and put their livery on it. So basically, if you don't know, Racing Point, they share the same engine as Mercedes, so it would fit basically. So they have a Mercedes last year car, pretty much, but it's spec'd for the regulations, if that makes sense. So what I think, and we see in testing, I think the Racing Point is going to be the clear number 4 for the first 5 to 10 races. But as teams start to evolve and build up their car for these years or this year's regulations, I think that's where Racing Point is, or Sport Pace, whatever you want to call it, the Pink Panthers, I think that's when they're going to start to fall behind, because they've copied a car that won last year, but how are they going to adapt that to the year as it goes on? Obviously, these guys are professional engineers. They've been doing this forever. They're the pinnacle motorsport engineers. They know what they're doing, but I think they're going to lack in the development. I could be wrong for that. I think they do have a strong car. I think that the first 10 races, Racing Point is probably going to have 3 podiums. I think they can get one in Bahrain. They could probably get one in Vietnam. We'll have to see what the new Dutch Grand Prix holds. Azerbaijan, to me, seems like a place where Racing Point always gets a podium. And possibly France. I think they can get 3 or 4 podiums in the first 10 races. But as the year goes on, I'm not sure. To me, they're 4th or 5th. But really, the midfield is all super close. But for me, I like that Racing Point are, like the Almar Snapsnar said, why look and try to build your car like a slow team? We're going to try to mimic the fastest car last year. And that's exactly what they did. So, to me, I think Racing Point is a good bet. I think that they're going to do good this year. They're going to get 4th or 5th. It's really close because there's a lot of competitors. I see Renault doing good this year. I see McLaren keeping what they have. And obviously now you throw Racing Point to this mix for 4th, 5th, and 6th. I think that will be 4th, 5th, and 6th. Not sure what order, but you obviously can't forget about the new AlphaTauri. You never know what Haas can do. And hey, maybe Williams surprised some teams this year. Probably not. I think they do get 10th place. Let's look over some times on testing real quick before I go into my power ranking. So the first week we didn't get a whole lot to look at. Day 1, it was Valtteri Bottas who, took the way with the 117.3. That's until Lewis Hamilton got the faster time, but Max Verstappen put in 168 laps. That's not really hard to look at. We want to look at the second testing. Looking at day 1 on the second testing, it was Robert Kubica who got a 116.9. He put in 53 laps. Not a whole lot of testing that day. Roman Grosjean had 107. But once again, you can't really look at this order because the Mercedes were 7th and 9th. On day 2 of testing, we saw a little bit different of a running order. We saw Sebastian Vettel finish in first place. He also had the 2nd most laps. Nicholas Latifi had the most laps in the Williams and finished with a 117.3. Pierre Gasly once again in the AlphaTauri getting a good time at 117.0. And finally, in day 3 of testing, we saw it end, and it was Valtteri Bottas, Max Verstappen, who led the way with 116.1 and a 116.2. Leclerc had 177 laps. People really put in the laps. A lot of people with over 150, those including Perez, Sainz, Russell, Kvyat, and Charles Leclerc. Although Max Verstappen only put 44 laps in, but he did have a good time. And Alex Albon finished 14th in the testing. That'd be last place. He also did spin into the gravel. So yeah, you can look at times on testing. What we can see are different things, the way drivers are compared to each other. But a lot of teams are just running different programs that they don't exactly. They're not really looking for the quickest time possible in testing. That's not exactly what testing is. But it is 10 days until the Australian Grand Prix kicks off, and I'll be doing a video for that. But we can now talk about power rankings. What do I think it's going to be? We'll start from 10 and end at 1. The worst team. They do have a cool livery this year, but it's going to be Williams. They were the worst team a couple years ago. They were the worst team last year, and they're going to be the worst team this year. I think Latifi and Russell, that should be a very fun and exciting duo. We'll have to see. Russell in his qualifying last year beating out Kubica, except Kubica did get a single point in Germany. But Williams are the worst team. That is definitely for sure. They were quick in testing, but that doesn't mean anything. But I do think that Russell and Latifi, they will get more than 1 point this year for Williams. In ninth place, this was tough for me being an American, but I think it's going to be Haas. Now, they do good in Australia. Well, at least they did a couple years ago before the whole tire situation. They were running 4th and 5th. So I think they're going to do good in Australia. I think they might get someone to finish in the points. But in the whole season scheme of things, I just think they finish in ninth place. Roman Grosjean, why is he still on this team? Kevin Magnussen, he needs to have a different teammate. I think Magnussen's definitely better. Gunter Steiner, he's trying so hard, but this team is just not very good. I don't think Haas is going to be in Formula 1 for much longer. It's going to be something else. It's going to be like a BMW or a Lamborghini, or something's going to happen. I just don't think Haas is going to be in Formula 1 much longer after the new regulations. Who knows? Maybe they're just throwing this year away, but I have them in ninth place. In 8th place, this was tough for me. It was between Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri, but I'm going to pick Alfa Romeo, and I hate to say it, but I don't know. Kimi Räikkönen, he didn't have the year I thought he was going to have last year. Sure, he did have a couple of races where he finished really good, especially in Brazil, but everybody finished good in Brazil who didn't crash out. But I don't know. To me, Giovinazzi, Räikkönen, that's one of the weaker lineups. The car isn't that great. It just looked good a couple of years ago because of Charles Leclerc. This is still like the same Sauber team. They just aren't as bad. They are a very quick team, though. According to the testing, the final day of testing, 320 miles an hour, or not miles an hour, that'd be super quick, kilometers an hour on the DRS straight. So they are definitely a very quick straight line team. But to me, I have Alfa Romeo at 8 and AlphaTauri at 7. I just think Tauri has the better drivers here. Daniel Kvyat, Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly really shined in his rookie season at Toro Rosso, and last year when he came back, he did good as well. And as AlphaTauri, they got the brand new livery that I love a lot, the white and dark blue / black. I do think AlphaTauri are gonna be better this year. Daniel Kvyat had a lot of testing with Ferrari, and he really did good last year. I think they're going to score a decent amount of points. To me, there's going to be not a huge difference between the two Alphas, the Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri. I think they will finish within like 5 points of each other when it comes down to the end of the year. But it's going to, I think Pierre Gasly is the big difference. To me, he's going to finish high in a lot of races. So I think AlphaTauri is 7th place. Now, number 6. This is what I said before, the whole McLaren, Renault, and Racing Point thing. To me, I don't know what order to put this in. So I'm going to do a 4A, 4B, and 4C. Now, I don't know what it's going to be at all. Like I said before, you look at McLaren, they finished 4th last year. They still the same lineup with Sainz and Norris. Norris is in his 2nd year, and Sainz is coming off his best of the rest, right? Renault have a new kind of car. Daniel Ricciardo looking to have a bounce back season, and they get comeback driver Esteban Ocon. So what is he going to bring to the table? And then of course for Racing Point, you have the pink Mercedes, as we say. Sergio Perez, in my opinion, is going to finish ahead of Sebastian Vettel. So, but they have Lance Stroll, who's not exactly the quickest. So I don't know, like, I think Racing Point is the number 4, but I also think McLaren are going to finish ahead in the points because I think they have the better drivers. So to me, McLaren's number 4 in the standings, but Racing Point has the 4th best car, if that makes sense. And then Renault's going to be right in the middle of that. So that's the very confusing midfield that I have predicted for myself. Okay, number 3, it's between Ferrari or Red Bull. I'm going Ferrari, and to me, it's because the car is getting slower. Sebastian Vettel is getting slower. Charles Leclerc is going to turn into the number 1 driver. He's going to win a lot of races this year. To me, Charles Leclerc's going to finish in third, but Vettel's going to finish behind Perez. He's going to finish behind Albon. This is not going to be a good year for him, which is going to this is going to tone down Ferrari's points, tone down their speed. They're not the quickest. Their preseason testing wasn't that great either. We'll just have to see what happens in Melbourne. To be honest, I don't think they're going to finish in the podium. I think it's going to be Verstappen, Bottas, and Hamilton to finish in the podium. So Ferrari, to me, third place. Second place, Red Bull. But I think Max Verstappen is going to be really close to a championship. It's going to be like the couple years ago where we had Vettel and Lewis. I think Lewis is going to, obviously, I think he's going to beat Verstappen, but I think it's going to take until like USA to do it. He's not just going to win at the 2 races after the winter break. It's going to be like 3 or 4 races before the season ends. I think Verstappen is going to be able to race his best, really, and show off what he has. He's the second best driver on the grid, maybe third, I don't know. Well, he's had a lot more experience than Charles Leclerc, so we'll say he's the second best driver. So that leaves Mercedes at number 1. I think Lewis Hamilton wins the championship. Verstappen gets second, Bottas gets third, and then Albon gets fourth, Perez fifth, Vettel sixth. I forgot somebody, didn't I? Yes, Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc is going to finish in fourth, right behind Bottas, and then down. So I think Vettel finishes seventh. That's the end of this. Thanks for watching, enemies.